John Pollock here at WrestleCon with Scrap Iron Adam Pearce here, the man that is potentially the future voice of the San Diego Padres. Let our listeners know about this campaign.
It's pretty crazy, isn't it? You think about it. I, on a whim, had a weekend off. They had an open audition. They're looking for a new PA guy. It's 10 years now at Petco Park in San Diego, so they're celebrating the anniversary of the new ballpark with a new attitude. They brought a new front office staff, and they kind of want to change up the feel of what the Padres have been doing. And I just happened to be there and audition, and here we are now a month later, and I've done a couple games, and we're there. We're pretty much at the 10th hour, if you will. People can vote until Monday. I'm not sure when this is going to air, but
we'll get it up quick for you.
I'm in there, so please help me. I need a job.
Tell us about the segue of, cutting a wrestling promo versus addressing 40,000 people at a baseball stadium. Are there any parallels? Do you take one from the other?
Not really, and that's the funny part about it. It's very much a produced atmosphere.
Yeah.
So from that standpoint, wrestling and baseball, there are so many parallels. The fact that the sports are different aside, it's still a production. It's very much run like, for instance, Ring of Honor pay-per-view would be when I was running it in 2009 and 2010. Right. So from that standpoint, I'm very much in tune with what they're looking for. In terms of their format, it's eerily similar to looking at a format for a wrestling television program. Sure. So it works. In terms of the speaking itself, it's literally just reading for the most part and trying to gauge, and this is the part where wrestling kind of comes in, gauge the situation in the game. What's the emotion? Are the Padres winning? Are they losing? And then you kind of, your inflection changes depending upon what you're trying to do. If we got runners on, bases loaded, and we're down a run, I amp it up a little bit, much like you would do in the ring when you're trying to get this specific emotion from the crowd. So from that standpoint, it's similar, but different.
You put out one of the best received documentaries in a long time in wrestling, The 7 Levels of Hate, profiling the 7 matches you did with Colt Cabana. This was really your baby, and it was, just got great praise from a lot of people. Just tell us about, all of the time you put into this and the reaction you got from it.
You think about it, it's fun. I think it's one of those things now, looking back when I'm done wrestling, that period of time, that 3 years that Cabana and I were doing what we were doing for the NWA and with that championship, it's going to be probably the best part of my wrestling career, that and the Ring of Honor stuff. You talk about blood, sweat, and tears. We've tried to put together a program and a series of matches that were going to span longer than 6 months. We're in such an age of attention spans being so small that to go back and do things kind of the way they did in the early 80s and really stretch it, and we did that. Not just the 7 matches, those themselves took almost a year, but 2 years previous to that, making this thing come around. It's gratifying to have your peers admire your work, and the DVD did well. It's still doing well, and me and Cabana are still alive to talk about it, so it's awesome.
Do you feel that, yourself, the Colt Cabanas of the world, the Nigel McGuinnesses are really kind of imparting those lessons on a lot of younger talent that, hey, you've got to be your own boss, you're your own employee, essentially, that you guys have to, market yourselves in this way, and it's really that do-it-yourself attitude that we keep hearing so much that I think the younger talent is taking from guys like you.
Yeah, I think it's essential. I mean, until there's a period in time, and I don't know that there ever will be, where professional wrestling is governed overall by a union or some sort of controlling body that can really work for the boys. Because as it is now in the United States, when we think about it, there's really only one show in town. Yeah. You've got your WWE, and you're always going to have your WWE, and if you consider TNA underneath that, you can, and then Ring of Honor subsequent. But the reality is we're all independent contractors. At the end of the day, we're responsible for ourselves, and no one else is. No one's going to pay our mortgages, no one's going to pay our car notes, no one's going to feed our kids or take care of our injuries. We're responsible for all that for the most part. So if you can take the attitude and the approach that you're going to go out there and do everything you can to build your own brand and your own name and then market it accordingly, you can succeed in pro wrestling. I haven't had major television backing or coverage in the 20 years that I've been around, and I've done extremely well for myself simply because I think I work harder than a lot of people do. And when you mention guys like Colt, who's like the quintessential poster boy, the example for social media, for social media networking, which I think is a completely different ballgame. He's taken his marketing degree and taken the social media, mixed them together, and has built this worldwide brand that I think no one can argue with. Yeah. So guys like me and Nigel, to a degree, have kind of been able to usurp some of that knowledge from him and kind of mix it into what we're doing to kind of be relevant and to be out there and to make money in a business where ostensibly, if you don't have a company or machine backing you, you're kind of at the whim and at the will of someone else. And we're not. And it speaks to hard work.
And where would you categorize right now the health right now of the industry outside of the WWE, being an independent contractor outside? I mean, you've seen many different ups and downs throughout your career. Where is it at right now in 2014?
I think it's strong, and I think it's building. I think, and people have said this for years, and I agree with it. Anytime WWE's on an upswing, the independents and the promotions underneath that, the business itself is more healthy, right? Yeah. So we're at a time now where I think we're on the peak of something, and I've heard a lot of people say this. We're on the peak of another boom period. You could feel it, like the energy here in WrestleCon. It's been packed all day long. We're out there hustling our gimmicks as we have to do to put the food on the table, but you can really feel it. People are interested in the business, and I think we're still missing that one breakout star. A lot of people thought Punk might have been that guy to kind of coalesce and go to the next level and kind of bust through like a Stone Cold and like a Rock did, a decade ago. We're still waiting for that, but I feel like it's coming.
You had, a period in time with Ring of Honor. You categorized as one of the highlights of your career. I think, honestly, without saying anything else, you were able to create with those pay-per-views that big event feel, which I think is very difficult to do outside of the WWE. As you look right now at a number of prospective projects that are in the works, whether it be a Jeff Jarrett, whether it's TNA retooling, AAA on El Rey, right, that if someone were to enlist you for that kind of a role, would that be something you would be open to at this point in time, or was that something that it was a lot of stress at the time?
I think it's 6 to 1 and half a dozen of the other. Obviously a lot of stress, but it's a lot of work, and when you can reap the benefit of doing that the right way, it's worth it every day of the week. I love pro wrestling and have my entire life, so if there were to be a phone call, and maybe there has been, maybe I don't want to put my size 13 in my mouth, but I'm open to anything that's good for wrestling, because it's done well for me over the years, so I feel like I owe it to a degree, if that makes any sense. So I'd love to be involved with anything that I think is positive for the business.
And once again, why don't you let everyone know where they can follow you on Twitter, and as well, making you the voice of the... I'll have to come down and watch a Padres game if Adam Pearce is calling it.
Please do. It's an experience. Quick story real quick. Yeah. Last Wednesday, it's the Dodgers in town. I'm in the press box with Vince Scully, the Hall of Fame, the man in baseball broadcasting.
He is baseball's Jim Ross.
Oh my God, you think I'm sitting there, we're eating dinner, and next to me is Vince Scully, and I'm looking at myself, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? But I want to be here, you know what I mean? So follow me, please, at ScrapThatAP on Twitter. Vote for me at Padres.com, you can. And just support pro wrestling. That's what we're here for, this great atmosphere. We love it, so...
He's one of the hardest working guys out there, and one of the great minds out there, I think, in today's pro wrestling landscape. That's the John Pollock endorsement, everybody.